Grace had never been afraid before, but the fragments were too close, and she was tired. As she could not finish the tale, the fragment tracers would not get it, and she would have another finish her story, or at least keep it safe until she could return in another form. She would keep it safe with one that could hear her, no matter where she was, like the Mara child. She looked around as usual, but did not see the Mara child. A small child with a pale face, black hair, and bright blue eyes did approach her, did reach out to her with questions. But it was not the Mara child. "Who are you?" the large eyes of the child asked so freely and without hesitation. Grace spoke to the child as she had spoken to the Mara child. "Your name is Sierra. What a curious name, but lovely at the same time. No, I am not anything you can name. Your mother approaches. I will talk with you another day." "No, not another day," answered a voice, "for your time may be the same time tomorrow, or decades away from our tomorrow. Then the child is no longer opened and free, no longer the child that can help you, no longer the child who can hear you, no longer the child who can save you. Don't disappear again. This message travels far from your Mara child, who is no more, but left this piece of her behind so you don't forget." "Hello, my name is Mara North. I see you have met my daughter, Sierra. I apologize. She is still too young to know that staring is not polite. Somehow you seem familiar. Have we met someplace before?" Grace could not speak, but she understood and was saddened that her time clock was off, that her Mara child was all grown up and could not hear her any longer. Sierra, feeling Grace's sadness, reached for her hand to comfort her. "Well, it was nice meeting you, but it looks like a storm is coming. We should get home. Hope to see you in the park another day, miss," the old Mara said, remembering a certain kindness towards single women sitting alone on a park bench who could not speak but only smile with large brown eyes. "I can't lose time again. The fragments will get me. I can't hide in my flat any longer. I must face them and not lose any more time," Grace thought as she ran back to her flat to make arrangements for her next move, to tidy up old business. She would not stay in the apartment that night. She would run through the storm as she had done in her younger days, hoping to distract and confuse the fragments long enough to find a new hiding place close to the Sierra child in order not to lose her like she had lost the Mara. She would leap no more time. After preparing for the move, she dressed in nylons, heels, and a gray suit to fit in, with the others scampering about when they should be inside. She threw on a large cloak and decided she would run towards the park. The park had always been a safe haven from the fragments. They never lurked too close to where children played because the children could see the fragments and could warn others and cause a commotion. The park, yes, the park would be my safest journey tonight. If I can only get there in time, if they don't catch me before I reach the inner sanctuary of the park. She grabbed her notebook and ran out the door into the growing shadows and the storm in all its strength, daring the fragments to come follow, to come retrieve the prize they had hunted her all her life to obtain. As Grace ran from the nightmares that pursued her deeper into the darkness of the twilight, she dropped, then stumbled upon the notebook, the treasure of ages. The edges were worn and dog-eared from centuries of reading and marking special passages and filling the pages with blue ink. She grabbed the bound paper with her scraped and bleeding fingers and regained her feet and her flight into the night. which she had done several times during the chase. She wasn't as agile and spry as she once had been, but she was giving the fragments a run for their lives as well as her own. The leafy branches of the trees swayed in the gusty winds, pushing shadowy pockets of the deeper darkness across the landscape of the black night. Her lungs were burning from the strain of running, and her eyes wept with the stinging of the wind. She continued to run. She could hear her pursuer's breath in her ears, taunting her. Her dress was ripped, her nylons were torn and bloody. Sweat and rain dampened her hair and made her face glisten. She was numb to the cold, stinging, metallic pain. Grace ran through the middle of the park in which stood the children's playground. Swings ominously swung in the swiftly moving air. All the playground equipment seemed to be moving as if ghostly children were playing in the violent night, and the fragments' sinister laughter echoed on the wings of the wind. At the edge of the playground were catacombs for the young to crawl in and get lost in. The mouth of the cement tunnels gave new meaning to the darkness that had consumed Grace's flight. Overcoming her fear, she ran to the tunnel opening and fell to her hands and knees, bumping her head on the top of the tunnel's cold, hard lip. She crawled for a while, dragging herself across the ground until she found a place she thought might be safe from her relentless trackers, and until she could no longer move, she gave in and let go. Grace lay in the darkness of the tunnel, singing a lullaby. The light had grabbed her, and she had woken in the warm spring air on a grassy hill, whose blades reached up to the sun. She sighed. The nightmare and the storm were over. She would return to continue the story.